Sometime in the fading hours of a cold evening, Ana Rivera pushed her trembling hand against the warped front door of the house everyone in Pine Valley whispered about. A collapsing skeleton of wood and rot that looked ready to swallow itself whole. Her 7-year-old son, Diego, clung to her side as the door groaned open, spilling a breath of sour, stagnant air that stung their eyes. People on the sidewalk slowed to stare, some pitying, some smirking, because only a desperate woman would spend her last $21 on a condemned house that locals claimed wasn't even safe for raccoons. But Ana wasn't thinking about danger. She was thinking about the nights in shelters, about Diego's quiet tears in the dark, about the way hopelessness had been tightening around her like a noose. The floor crackled under her shoes as she stepped into the dim, ruined interior, dust swirling like ghosts caught in a beam of fading daylight. Broken glass glittered across the floor. Wallpaper sagged off the walls like shedding skin. And yet somewhere inside her chest, something warm flickered, a whisper telling her this place, this wreck, this final gamble might be the turning point she never saw coming. She didn't know it yet, but the house was waiting for her. It had been waiting for decades. The first night inside felt like sleeping inside the ribcage of a dying beast. The wind slid through cracks in the walls, making soft whistles that curled around their sleeping bags as Ana kept her eyes open, listening to every creak. Her thoughts drifted backward, back to the job she'd lost when the manufacturing plant shut down without warning, back to selling her car, her furniture, her entire life piece by piece until all that remained was survival. Diego slept lightly, flinching at sounds, but never complaining, never asking for more than she could give. That tiny resilience in him pushed her forward. With morning light came a surge of determination. She began cleaning, clearing broken boards, dragging furniture carcasses aside, opening windows that screeched angrily. Neighbors watched from a distance, murmuring doubts, but Ana tuned them out. She scrubbed walls until her hands ached, patched holes with cardboard, swept mountains of debris into the yard. When Diego found a broom and joined her, something inside her anchored tighter. This wasn't just a house. It was a chance to reclaim dignity. After days of relentless work, they carved out one small room they could safely sleep in. It wasn't warmth, but it was theirs. And as the sun set behind the ruined roof, Ana realized she had traded the familiar misery of shelters for the unknown possibility of a broken house, an exchange she was willing to risk everything for. On the fourth day, Ana finally forced herself to face the basement, the one place in the house she had avoided because even from the stairs, darkness pooled so thick it felt alive. She descended slowly, flashlight trembling in her grip as the beam sliced through dust-heavy air. The basement was surprisingly intact, dry, finished long ago, abandoned but not destroyed. Old boxes sagged in corners, furniture lay draped in cobwebs, and shelves clung stubbornly to crumbling walls. Something tugged at her attention, a wooden section of wall that didn't match the rest. Its edges curled outward as if time had been trying to peel it away. She pulled gently, then harder, until the entire panel popped loose, revealing a hollow compartment. Inside was a metal box, heavy and cold, its latch rusted but intact. Sitting on the bottom stair, breath sharp in her throat, Ana opened it. Inside, wrapped in waxed paper, were journals, blueprints, sketches, pages filled with dense calculations and hand-drawn mechanical diagrams. The name written on nearly every page, Julian Roth. At first, she didn't understand what she was holding, but the meticulous detail told her these weren't random doodles. They were the life's work of a man consumed by invention. She didn't know it yet, but that box, dusty and forgotten, held the key to shifting her world from survival to destiny. In the days that followed, curiosity nudged desperation aside. Anna carried Julian's papers to the library, searching tirelessly for clues about pressure exchange systems, trying to decipher the diagrams she barely understood. She learned enough to know that Julian's work belonged to a field still evolving, still pursued by modern engineers. She photographed every page, mailed copies to a nearby university, and prayed for a reply. When a letter arrived from Professor David Chen saying the documents were historically significant and technically extraordinary, Anna felt the ground tilt beneath her. Her neighbor drove her to the university, where she nervously presented the metal box to the professor. He examined each page with reverence, murmuring to himself like a man discovering buried treasure. When he finally looked up, his eyes were bright. Julian's design wasn't just clever, it was decades ahead of its time. He explained gently, carefully, that while patents were impossible, the intellectual value was enormous. Engineers would want to study this. Companies might want to license the concepts. Anna listened, heart pounding, as he told her she wasn't just holding old papers, she was holding a forgotten breakthrough. Soon calls came from MIT historians, from corporations, from journalists wanting to tell her story. For the first time in months, Anna felt something she had nearly forgotten: genuine hope. It wasn't certainty yet, but it was the spark of possibility. Something she'd buried long ago, now rising from the dust along with Julian's hidden legacy. The university arranged a meeting that felt like stepping into another world entirely. Anna entered a polished conference room filled with experts, engineering historians, corporate representatives, legal advisors, while she wore the same carefully washed thrift store outfit she'd owned for months. Professor Chen sat beside her, steady and reassuring. As she shared how she'd found the box in the decaying basement wall, the room grew quiet, almost reverent. Then came the questions, intense, technical, rapid fire, but she answered honestly, never pretending to understand what she didn't. When the patent attorney explained that Julian had died without heirs and that Anna likely held legal rights to license the designs, gasps circled the room. One company immediately suggested a six-figure deal. Another argued she could earn more by licensing to multiple buyers. Chen stepped in, urging patience, insisting she be protected. For the first time, powerful people were asking what she wanted. When she walked out of the building, the world felt unfamiliar, like a door she didn't know existed had suddenly been thrown open. News outlets spread the story of the single mother who'd bought a condemned house and found an invention capable of reshaping industries. Strangers sent food, supplies, warm coats for Diego. The community that once mocked her now honored her. Every step forward felt surreal, yet deeply earned. Anna wasn't just surviving anymore. She was standing at the threshold of a life she never imagined possible. Over the next months, researchers pieced together Julian Roth's life, a brilliant, misunderstood engineer who'd spent years fighting illness and skepticism, pouring his genius into a basement workshop no one ever valued. His pressure exchange system, once dismissed, was now considered visionary. Meanwhile, Anna negotiated licensing deals totaling more than $800,000, with royalties still to come. For the first time in memory, she had stability. Her first act was to secure Diego's future, establishing a trust fund, buying him school supplies he'd once gone without, enrolling him in programs that fed his curiosity. Contractors restored the Maple Street house from the ground up, new roof, new foundation, fresh walls, safer rooms. She kept every original beam she could, honoring the home that had sheltered Julian and saved her. The town transformed around her too. The once shunned property became a local landmark, a symbol of perseverance and rediscovery. A plaque honoring Julian's brilliance was placed on the porch. Engineers visited. Reporters documented the transformation. And through it all, Diego blossomed, no longer the worried child in a shelter cot, but a bright, eager kid who explored Julian's notebooks like treasure maps. Anna gave back in every way she could, funding improvements at the shelter, supporting local families, starting a scholarship in Julian's name. The story was no longer just hers. It belonged to everyone who had ever been overlooked, underestimated, or forgotten. Years passed, and the invention that once sat hidden behind a wooden panel finally reached the world. Companies released new energy-efficient systems based on Julian's concepts, machines that saved factories millions in wasted power. Engineers wrote papers crediting his designs. Students studied his journals. Anna received steady royalty checks, but more meaningful were the letters from people who found hope in her journey, from struggling parents, young inventors, students who felt unseen. Diego thrived, carrying the story of the broken house and the hidden invention like a beacon. He shared it during school projects, explaining pressure systems with a confidence Anna once feared he might never gain. The Maple Street house became a quiet museum in its basement, honoring Julian's life with restored tools, framed sketches, and photos uncovered by historians. Anna stood there often, imagining the lonely man who had worked so tirelessly, silently hoping someone, someday, would understand. His brilliance had saved her life, and she in turn had ensured his wasn't forgotten. Their lives, separated by decades, had met in one collapsing house that became the birthplace of both redemption and legacy. What began as desperation had unfolded into something far larger. A reminder that history hides treasures not in gold, but in forgotten genius and unexpected courage. On a quiet night 3 years after the discovery, Anna stood on the restored porch of the home that once threatened to crush her spirit. Warm light spilled through polished windows. Diego slept safely inside, and beneath her feet in the basement museum, the metal box sat displayed, no longer a relic of failure, but a testament to what perseverance can uncover. She thought about the $21 she had gambled on a house no one wanted, about the cold nights in the shelter, about Julian working alone in the dim basement decades before she was born. Two people separated by time, both struggling, both nearly forgotten, yet somehow destined to lift each other out of the shadows. Her journey wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy. But it was proof that hope sometimes hides in the unlikeliest places, proof that broken things can still carry brilliance. Proof that one risk, one leap when everything feels lost, can rewrite an entire future. Anna whispered a quiet thank you to Julian, to the house, to the fragile persistence that kept her moving when logic said she should give up. And as she looked out over Maple Street, she felt ready for whatever came next. If this story moved you, tap the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that remind us how unpredictable and powerful life can be. Where are you listening from? And what time is it where you are right now?